1st of September 1939, 4:45 in the morning. This was the exact time that the Second World War began. There may have been no formal declaration of war on Germany's part, but that didn't stop its battleship, the Schleswig-Holstein, beginning the Battle of Westerplatte in GDANSK in Poland. Having anchored in the channel while pretending to make a courtesy visit to the region, the ship started shelling the Polish garrison, expecting German military superiority and the advantage of a surprise attack to lead to a swift and decisive victory. Things didn't quite turn out the way Hitler had planned, however, with the bombardment carrying on for several days and the Germans sustaining heavy losses. There were approximately 2,600 German soldiers involved in the battle against a Polish garrison of only 205. The Poles were defeated finally by exhaustion and dwindling food, water, ammunition and medical supplies. The Poles formally surrendered on the 7th of September, but the invasion had already prompted the UK, France, Australia and New Zealand to retaliate, all officially declaring war on Germany 4 days earlier. Some infamous places were once innocuous spots on the planet until a certain event thrust them into the world spotlight. This is most definitely not the case with the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. The first idea for the 7-building complex came in 1960 from an association created and chaired by David Rockefeller and backed by the governor of New York, Rockefeller's brother Nelson. It was developed by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and designed for the most part by US architect Minoru Yamasaki. Completed in 1972, the imposing silhouettes of One World Trade Center and Two World Trade Center, or the North and South Towers, dominated the Big Apple for the next nearly 30 years. 110 stories high, the World Trade Center had a floor area of 800,000 square meters and was 526.3 meters to the tip of the antenna on 1 WTC. The buildings were not without criticism, however. There were complaints about the narrow windows, which were a reflection of architect Yamasaki's fear of heights and desire to make the building's occupants feel more secure. And a popular joke in the 70s was that the two towers were the boxes in which the Empire State and the Chrysler Building had been packed. But all the jokes stopped on the morning of September the 11th, 2001. At 8:46 a.m., hijackers flew American Air Flight's Flight 11 into the northern facade of the North Tower. Just 17 minutes later, a second team of hijackers flew United Airlines Flight 175 into the South Tower, which collapsed 56 minutes later. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower followed suit. There were approximately 16,000 people below the areas of impact at the time, and most of them survived, evacuating before the collapse of the buildings. At least 2,603 people, however, did not get out. Hundreds were killed at the moment of impact, and at least 200 people jumped to their deaths from the burning towers. Only 18 people above the South Tower's impact zone managed to make it out of the building before it collapsed. To this day, 24 people remain listed as missing, and there are reports of about 10,000 bone fragments that simply cannot be matched to the list of the dead. All of the dead were civilians, with the average age being 40 years old. The oldest victim was an 82-year-old passenger on Flight 11, and the youngest a 2-year-old on Flight 175. The Twin Towers weren't the only scenes of destruction on that day. One of the other hijacked planes, American Airlines Flight 77, crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, killing more than 100 people inside, as well as everyone on board the plane. The terrorist attacks of 9/11 will go down in history as being the first truly infamous event of the new millennium, and the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, the definitive infamous place.
Three, two, one.